So it's been a while since I decided to record a video, and ultimately that was because of a choice, of a decision that I made, simply not to record. The thoughts had come to mind from time to time of recording another video. I just didn't necessarily feel like it, and I think it's funny because I think the last video that I had recorded was one where saying like I wanted to commit myself to making the videos, but it's not something that comes as easily as like going to train, for instance, or just sitting down to write. For me, I feel like those those things have kind of become ingrained as a part of who I am, where it's like I'm going to do these things virtually every day regardless of circumstance that I find myself in. And I haven't gotten to that place with the creation of these videos yet. But I had a little bit of time, and I decided I wanted to sit down and record this video. So that's what I'm doing now. A couple of ideas that have been going through my mind that I figured I'd talk a little bit about today. First is that you're oftentimes going to be presented with bits of information or key pieces that could lead to incredibly transformative events in your life. And although you might know conceptually that these things could really benefit and aid your life, it's really interesting that we as individuals kind of hesitate from actually going ahead and implementing these things, or integrating them into a new way of being. There's this resistance. It's like, that this thing is going to be good, but still it's like you go back to your old habits, old routines, what you're comfortable with. And that's where I feel like on the individual's part, it's really attendant upon your shoulders to say, like, okay, I've recognized that there's this new path of possibility. I'm going to have to discipline myself enough to stay along that path. Now, there might be deviations. You might start walking along that path, and something might take you away. Maybe you lose that spark, that passion for what it was you're doing for some time, and you needed a little bit of time to rekindle that spark. Branching off from there, a quote that I had come across in Jordan Peterson's book, We Who Wrestle with God, is, there is no valid excuse for failing to move forward when we are called to, regardless of our personal shortcomings or faults. Now, like, what that means to me is that, and this is regardless of whether you believe in God or some higher power, but you are called upon to bear your cross or burden or responsibility, let's say, voluntarily. And that's regardless of your personal shortcomings or your perceived flaws. It's like again, regardless of those personal shortcomings, you are presented with an opportunity to expand the potential that lies within, of just how good you can turn a circumstance or mold your character into. Everyone's going to have their perceived strengths and weaknesses, and it could be very easy for a person to let themselves stop the pursuit of the goals and kind of vision or mission that they've set for themselves, in the feedback they receive of limiting themselves because of those attendant weaknesses. But I feel it's in overcoming those so-called flaws, or those insufficiencies, that like with those flaws and insufficiencies, you're going to have challenges that are unique to your experiences. And I feel like there's an element of that specific uniqueness to your particular path of life, um, that makes it all the more worthwhile. Because if you were to know where it was you're going definitively, it almost takes the sense of adventure, that spark of the unknown out of the equation. And that's just, it's one of those elements that at least for me makes life worth living. It's like you found yourself on this path, you're experiencing all these different adventures. You don't know where these adventures are going to lead, but you go along those paths and you undertake those challenges voluntarily, in faith that the place that you'll find yourself is, I guess you could say, perhaps all that you ever wanted it to be. And it's like, I ask myself the question, it's like, in looking back on my life story, wouldn't I want to be the kind of person who says, look, I faced this challenge and I faced this challenge, and this challenge. And while I genuinely had no idea where exactly I would end up or how exactly I was going to overcome these stresses, these pressures, these adversities, I end up being incredibly grateful for the decision to voluntarily take those challenges on and to aim up, give it my all, work as hard as I can, to find myself in the place that I now do, having gone through those experiences. And just building upon that, it's like, I ask myself, like, would it be possible to adopt the mindset or the mentality that goes something along the lines of, like, this setback is really an opportunity. It's an opportunity to learn. It's an opportunity to grow and develop, and improve. And there's going to be much that's demanded of you in consequence of voluntarily undertaking this challenge, but that you're the sort of person who's capable of going ahead and meeting that challenge. And like I said before, it's like the pathway forward might not have been as you expected, but regardless of where the path takes you, that you're the kind of person who's capable of adapting and finding whatever way forward you need to find to move forward towards that goal that you set for yourself. And then it's also like, you, in those moments, it's like you recognize that without facing those kind of challenges, that you wouldn't have been called upon to develop the skills and the traits and the characteristics that would have otherwise needed to be developed in order for you to accomplish these greater tasks or these greater goals along the line, along the pathway forward, if that makes sense. And you gain a very profound sense of gratitude for the opportunities that present themselves through adversity and challenge, if you open yourself up to the lessons that reveal themselves to you through that adversity. And I guess just to cap it off, I mean, like, the last resounding, I guess, idea you can say that caps it off is that it's ultimately on you to decide the mindset and the attitude that you bring to these adversities that you face. Whether it's in, like, for instance, with me, I'm experiencing a lot of injuries in my body, and while some might be attributed to bad luck. A lot of it's also my fault because I can be a very stubborn person who says, you know what, I'm going to train, and like I'll find a way. I'll attempt to find a way no matter what, and in doing so I can kind of get caught up in the moment and do things, push a little bit too far. And it's caused like a back. I was in Puerto Rico a couple weeks ago, and my lower back was really hurting me throughout the trip. And near the end of the trip, my brother and I had gone to an MMA gym while we were there, and I had told myself that, look, my back's in so much pain. I know if I train today, it's going to get a whole heck of a lot worse. And you kind of get wrapped up in the moment when you're there, when the music's blasting and the energy's high, and you want to get in there and have a good roll with a person. And I had four intense rolls, and I come out of that and my lower back is jacked. And I haven't been able to train since. It's been about 2 weeks now since I've been able to train. And it's like I'm dying to get back to training, but it's like I now have this time, or what you can consider as opportunity, to reflect and develop other skills, like the skill of accepting responsibility and taking accountability for the position that you find yourself in now. And it's my responsibility, for instance, to find a way to make the most of the time that I have now that I would otherwise have been spending training, and dedicate it to refining and honing other skills, whether that's the skill of like being willing to, sometimes it can be as simple as booking like a doctor's appointment or a chiropractor or massage to help you move one tiny step closer to getting back on track with that original aim that you've set for yourself. And sometimes that can be a lot for people. Sometimes it can be a lot for a person to just go ahead and book that appointment that, like, in their heart of hearts, they know they should be booking, but there's just that level of resistance. And it's like, it's so often the case that a person has to be pushed incredibly far in certain cases before they're willing to take action. And I guess a question that comes with that is like, could you be the kind of person who doesn't need to be pushed to that extreme to be willing to take steps, to take action that moves you forward? Because if you're willing to be that kind of person who will take the necessary steps to move forward without that external push, then I mean, you're the kind of person who once they say they're going to do something will just, with a much greater sense of ease, go ahead and do it, and move forward regardless of external circumstances, regardless even of what you perceive as your personal shortcomings or flaws, to tie it in to what we were discussing at the start. So I think that's it for now. I feel good in recording this video again today. I had to chop it up into pieces because I wasn't quite as clear as I should have been on what I wanted to speak about. So I apologize if there's like these disruptions in lines of thought, but I tried to, when I took those breaks, to get back onto the message at hand. So hope it helps, and I'll see you in the next one.